Good afternoon, everyone. This presentation with the title Better Living Through Chocolate is done by Maria Boyd, Yuri Afonin, and me, Ann-Kathrin Bedar. We have a lot to say, so I will jump right into the presentation. We're a new up-and-coming chocolate brand looking to create a universal chocolate that will not only be delicious and affordable, but also help the people in today's world by increasing the state of their mental health and general happiness. Chocolate is an easy, accessible snack, and it can encourage people to snack healthier. Why do we say today's world? Because we are in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic, and various studies performed on the state of mental health of individuals before and during the global pandemic show that there's an increase in depression among the population. So our problem statement is, how can we create a chocolate bar that has mental health benefits, is delicious, and can compete with the top brands on the market? Here's some facts about the chocolate market. Chocolate represents $40.1 billion of sales in all confectionery sales globally, and it represents 59% of the global candy sector. The market can be divided into three segments: mainstream chocolate like Mars, affordable luxury chocolate like Ferrero, and fine premium chocolate, mostly made by small artisan chocolatiers. Let's have a look at the connection between chocolate and mental health. So depression affects more than 264 million people of all ages globally, and the pandemic has worsened the situation. Over 60% of mental health services have been disrupted globally, and the spread of the pandemic, along with public health measures such as social distancing, can be very stressful for people. It can make people feel isolated and lonely, and various studies already indicate that the COVID-19 pandemic will have long-term effects on mental health. The following graph shows the development of depression in Canada, and we can see that depression has increased since the COVID outbreak, and this increase is expected to intensify if social isolation continues like it does right now. It is clear that depression is not just a simple mood swing, which is solved by eating a chocolate bar. It is a complex disease, of course. But nevertheless, many studies have shown that eating chocolate can make people feel happy, and it can positively affect mood and relieve depressive symptoms. The following quote, based on an insightful survey, points out that people who ate a lot of chocolate had 57% lower odds of depressive symptoms than those who didn't eat chocolate. So we ask, does every chocolate bar have mental health benefits? What are the necessary ingredients to reach those benefits? To answer that question, we rely on secondary sources: reports, studies, surveys. The graph shows that the risk of depression is lower when we eat dark chocolate than when we eat milk chocolate. So let's figure out why. Coca comes from roasted coca seeds. It's high in plant compounds called coca flavonoids, which have been shown in studies to have beneficial mental health benefits. And to get the health advantages of coca flavonoids without the fat and calories, it is recommended to buy a more concentrated coca product. The higher the coca content of the bar, the better the mental health benefits. The following quote, based on another interesting study, summarizes that. So the optimal dose is 1 to 2 ounces a day of at least 70% coca to achieve antidepressant effects. So that means only chocolate bar with at least 70% coca content will lead to our wanted health benefits. So we continue asking, what are the ingredients that make a chocolate bar taste good? Can a chocolate bar have mental health benefits and be delicious? So chocolate flavor starts with the coca bean itself, represented by its two parts, the solid particles and the fat. And when the coca percentage decreases, the sugar increases, along with the percentage of milk products and milk chocolate. But don't just assume that a high coca content bar will taste better than a low percentage bar. Chocolate flavor preferences, like wine, vary with each of our palates. And that's why we will also examine the most liked flavors on the market. We have created two data sets. First, we tried to identify the most popular bars on the market. We did an extensive search into chocolate brands and bars to collect as much as possible and create our own data set, including the composition of each chocolate bar, its price, and rating based on online reviews. The graph shows the number of ratings for the best rated chocolate companies within this data set. We also collected data about the niche market of chocolate. We used Octoprice to scrap a tasting society website called Manhattan Chocolate Society, and the dataset contains consumer ratings of chocolate bars along with information about their composition. Additionally, we gathered data about the price of each single chocolate bar. Here you can see a list of the best rated chocolate companies in this dataset. I would now like to hand over to Yuri, who will explain how we analyzed our data.
All the data preparation and analysis was performed in Jupyter Notebook, as well as the entire competitive analysis, which was then translated into Power BI for better visuals. Attached to the PowerPoint are the links to the 2 Jupyter Notebook files that I will refer to during my explanation and analysis. As was mentioned previously, we had 2 datasets, one which was already complete, the Berlinski niche set, which we just downloaded from the internet, and the other dataset containing the top-rated popular chocolate bars, which I had to create on my own by going through a lot of websites gathering information about every single variable in each column that you see in this dataset. Just like Anne-Catherine said, this was done through extensive research, and all the sources for this information are available if needed. We just didn't want to include them here in this PowerPoint as they would take up half of the presentation. First thing to do is to prepare our datasets for regression analysis to determine if there are any variables that affect the value of good taste. In the top-rated dataset, almost all chocolates are rated 4 out of 5 stars and up. The true defining variable will be the number of ratings, as it shows that the chocolate has multiple ratings, which means more reviews, which also means it was sold more. In order to clean the dataset, I performed a row deletion based on conditions, for example, removing all assortments and chocolate collections and only keeping individual bars, and also removing bars that have less than 100 ratings, as they wouldn't be considered top rated. We also had to create a new column based on the cost per unit weight of a bar of chocolate. And we had to do that in order for us to be able to do the competitive market analysis later on, where we split our datasets into 3 different markets. For the Berlinski niche dataset, there are 2,312 different chocolates. Since this data did not include the most important variable, price, we couldn't find the prices for every single bar because that would just take too long and we wouldn't be done on time. Therefore, we decided to clean this data and only work with those chocolates that are rated 4 stars and up, just like in the top-rated dataset. For the regression analysis, we decided to do a heat map among all the numeric variables in the dataset and then determine which, if any, affect the good taste factor. In our case, that's the number of ratings variable. For that, we had to drop all columns with categorical data. It's important to note that NaN values of the percent of chocolate in the top-rated set, those represent milk chocolates, which consist of up to 20% of pure chocolate, depending on the production region. Therefore, we will fill all the NaN values in this column with 20%. Upon plotting the heat map and checking the number of ratings and rating out of 5, so checking those 2 variables individually, we could confirm that no correlation exists and there are no values affecting these variables. Unfortunately, we were unable to perform the regression analysis on the Berlinski niche set due to a couple of reasons. First, if we want to see which variables affect the number of ratings variable, the number of ratings was not available in this dataset. It just didn't contain it, so therefore we could not use it for our specific analysis. If we want to see which variables affect the rating out of 5, because those chocolates in the niche set did have ratings, unfortunately all the ratings in the dataset were 4 out of 5. Not 4.2, 4.3, they were all 4 out of 5. Therefore, even if we tried, we wouldn't get any results as all the ratings would still stay the same. In our proposal, we mentioned that we wanted to see how both datasets would fare in comparison to each other based on the factor of health benefits. Since we already know that health benefits only come with 70% of chocolate and over, we decided to analyze the top occurring percentages of chocolate in both datasets. And as a result, the most rated and most used chocolate percentage in the top-rated dataset is 20%, which has no health benefits according to what was determined earlier in our study. On the other hand, Brudlinski niche set has 70% as its most used chocolate percentage, concluding that the Brudlinski niche dataset is a lot more health-oriented than the top-rated dataset. Based on the chocolate candy market in the US, there are 3 markets: the everyday gourmet market, the upscale premium, and the super premium, which for our analysis we decided to call mainstream market, affordable luxury market, and premium market, respectively. Each market depends on the cost per weight of a chocolate bar, which we were able to define and split the markets accordingly. We took both our datasets, the niche Brudlinski and top-rated dataset, and from it created 3 new datasets based on the markets. From there, the average price per market was determined, with the mainstream market averaging at $2.63 per 100 grams, the affordable luxury market averaging at $4.39 per 100 grams, and the premium market averaging at $14.89 per 100 grams. The top flavors were also determined, with pure chocolate, milky, and nutty flavors considered as the top favorites, being shared across all markets. And also, finally, the countries of bean origin per market and the most used chocolate percentage per market were also determined and were later exported and rendered in Power BI for better analysis.
This graph shows us the frequency distribution of the cocoa percentage of the best weighted chocolate bars per segment. We can use the slicer over here to select one of the segments. Let's first take a closer look at the mainstream market. It shows that the best weighted chocolate bars in that segment have a percentage of 20 or have a 20% of cocoa content, so not very healthy. We continue with the affordable luxury market. It seems more divided. We have here 28% who prefer 20% chocolate, and over here we have also 28% who go for 70% chocolate. Last but not least, the premium market, which shows a pretty clear outcome with a preference for chocolate bars with 17% cocoa. So now let's have a look at the top weighted countries of the bean origin. The world map is just giving an overview. The blue highlighted countries are the countries with the best weighted beans, and so we can just slide over the countries and see additional information popping up. But we can also use the drop down menu here to focus on a single country, like Ghana maybe. So we zoom on Ghana and then we can see those information too. Down here we can see the top weighted countries per segment. So the customers of the mainstream market and the affordable market prefer cocoa beans of the 2 largest producer of cocoa, Ghana and the Ivory Coast. But even blends, as we can see here and here, are weighted pretty high. While consumers of the premium market are more divided, with a preference for cocoa beans from Venezuela, Peru and Ecuador. But also blends seem to be very appreciated.
And now that we have concluded our competitive market analysis, we would like to take a look at the cost and benefit analysis.
A 2015 study by the Journal of Psychiatry, looking back at 2005 and 2010 data, set out to quantify the economic cost of depression at the individual medical, workplace, and societal level. Costs mount even higher when one considers untreated cases, the unemployed not covered in the survey due to no medical insurance claims, impact of absenteeism and disability in the workplace, and suicides. In fact, the indirect cost due to depression was 6.6 times that of direct costs. Chocolate is a pleasant and relatively cheap potential prophylaxis that can be enjoyed in small quantities at any price point with wide-ranging health benefits. To refer back to our original problem statement, How can we create a chocolate bar that has mental health benefits, is delicious, and can compete with the top brands on the market? Our target customers is all categories of chocolate consumers who are looking for a healthy snack, priced between mainstream and the affordable luxury sectors in the preferred health percentage of dark chocolates, 70%. First, let us consider what the customer seeks. In a 2019 survey by the International Food Information Council Foundation, price and taste remain the top purchasing drivers dependent on age. Specifically with chocolate consumers, they come in all ages, unsurprising, prefer the readily and conveniently available mainstream bars, also not surprising. But surprisingly, roughly 1/4 of mainstream consumers surveyed were already consuming dark chocolate. Hence, we will not be attempting to start a trend, but capitalize and expand on a pre-existing one. Having said that, high percentage chocolate is not something that the mainstream consumer currently craves or chases. Fortunately, there is a boom in the health food trend, particularly the so-called superfoods, and more consumers are turning to functional snack bars. High percentage cocoa checks both these boxes and taps into a pre-existing customer base and accessible and expanding marketing outlets. The first step to a good price is affordable but good quality raw input material, in this case cocoa beans. Remember the average cost per bar earlier? Well, when scaled up from 100-gram quantities to the unit weight at which cocoa beans are sold, the affordable suddenly becomes fantastically overpriced. This is because most of the final cost, between 70 to 90%, is added in the final 2 stages of the value chain, the final production, marketing, and retail stages. One root cause of this disparity is geographic. The cocoa growing belt is tropical, where many low-income countries lie. The chocolate-consuming world since the time of Columbus is in the developed countries. Industry to create chocolate has always sat there or is owned by companies there, even if they have grinding plants in grower countries. Cocoa product production is in fact a huge employer in developed nations, as candy production is a huge market of which chocolate products have a 59% share. Having said that, cocoa production has been ever increasing. The West African countries being far and away the biggest producers, with South and Central American producers coming up in line. Fitting, given that chocolate is a Central American crop first enjoyed between 1500 to 400 BC. Southeast Asian countries trail, though in India both bean production and chocolate consumption are growing rapidly. The steady increase in the price of cocoa is due to demand outstripping supply, even as farmers in West Africa flee to better paying crops. Note that the New York futures cocoa price in bright yellow applies mainly to bulk cocoa produced primarily by West African countries, of which Ghana and Côte d'Ivoire are the biggest suppliers. Latin American producers tend to focus on the fine cocoa varieties, where farm gate prices are negotiated privately. So, if we go directly to the farmer, can we take an already established trend in the niche market, the so-called bean-to-bar movement, which emphasizes single-source bean location and crop years, and democratize it to the mass market and bulk cocoa? A major consideration for making this successful, if going for the lowest price bulk cocoa beans, is bean flavor. Ghana and Côte d'Ivoire are the main bulk producers, but the taste profile of the Côte d'Ivoire bean is far more complex, making it the preferred raw material choice. Another way to improve the product further would be by adding further health benefits, by inclusions, except sugar and sugar-heavy products, that are already familiar and loved by the mainstream consumers. This will help offset the unfamiliar taste of high percentage chocolate versus its more sugary cousins, and add interesting texture. Nuts and sweetened coconut and coffee with its antioxidants are fan favorites. In conclusion, we have work to do. investigating cost-effective adoption of the bean-to-bar concept in a more cost-effective form applicable to mainstream cost values, choosing the healthiest additives that the mainstream consumer already enjoys to incorporate into our product to offset the unsweetened flavor, and working on establishing our presence in the pre-existing space of health foods, promoting dark chocolate as health food versus treat.